What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Die Is podcast. Today, I am Alex, and I am here with Justin and Nick. How you guys doing?
Howdy, everybody. Doing real good.
Hope everyone's doing really well.
So we have a couple things to talk about today. There are new Fyreslayer rules that were leaked, new Idoneth rules, new Beasts of Chaos, White Dwarf update. Huge update for them. But you wanted to talk about your tournament you were in recently.
Yeah, so I spent 2 weekends ago in Ohio at the Brewhammer tournament, which had about 40 people. It was held at a local brewery there. I drove down with Austin, who you guys hopefully have seen in our videos. We had a great time. It was a 7-hour drive, so it went surprisingly fast for 7 hours. You don't think that would go so fast. Got down there real late Friday night, woke up, got there Saturday, and I'm bringing my one-drop Iron Jaws list, which I'm like, this is super tight. It did well against Nick. I'm ready to take this tournament on. Feeling great. I'm like seeing tons of Stormcast, and that's what the list is built for. I want to play Stormcast. It's not going to be an easy matchup, but that's kind of what I have in mind. And then all of a sudden I start seeing a lot of Death Armies, and I'm like, I don't want to see Soul Blight. That is not what I want to see. So first round, of course, I'm partnered up against Matt from Cincinnati on Soul Blight. Great guy. He's playing Legion of Blood with Neferata, Manfred, who I absolutely 100% can never kill in the game.
Sure.
And the beefiest Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon you can ever imagine, which I think you've run against me before.
Absolutely. The king of Legion of Blood.
So early on, I let him take first turn. I doubled him. So at one point, I had pushed him like way back into his own deployment. We were playing First Blood, and he was on one objective. I tucked my Rogue Idol into him. I'm like, okay, he's going to get stuck on my Rogue Idol. I'm just going to score a bunch of points, and he's not going to be able to get through. Thing was, I could not do any damage to that Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon because he kept putting Neferata's spell on him.
Sure, so
no
2 up
rend,
unrendable.
2 up, just nothing's going through. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to tuck my Maw Crusher behind the Rogue Idol. He just annihilates the Rogue Idol. Even when he's not charged, I'm like, oh, this is bad. He proceeds to just sweep across the board, and he, like, nips me in points. But Matt's an awesome guy. We ended up hanging out that night. I met his buddy Clay. They're both from Cincinnati. Unfortunately, their Bengals didn't come through for them, but, you know.
It's weird because normally you hold every loss that you take with me against me for like a year.
I don't like you at all. So, so that was fun. Next round, I go and I'm playing Death again. But this time I'm playing Feck, and it's against a guy named David. Super nice. He actually knows Aaron Malone from our group. Sure. And I start off, and I'm playing horrible. First of all, I don't play against Feck a lot, so I think I know the rules, but I don't know the rules. And I'm just doing everything wrong. I'm like bringing, like, I forget that he can attack twice, and I'm bringing in like anything. I don't even think of the Terrorgeist attacking twice. I'm bringing in stuff, and honestly, in turn 2, my Rogue Idol falls off, and I'm like, I am literally I just want to pack it in and quit right now.
Playing true Brewhammer.
Yeah, I'm like, this is so frustrating. It just came 7 hours. I'm like, I just gotta persevere. Tides turned, like, he had gotten a double on me, and then I doubled him back, and all of a sudden, we both had next to nothing left, and I'm, like, doing the points in my head, and I'm like, all right, we both have hold the line. If I get it and he doesn't, I'm going to win by 1 point.
Sure.
So I literally have one pig, my only battle line left, sitting on the center objective. He comes in with a full pack of the Screaming Crypt Flayers and one hero. He needs to do 2 damage on this guy.
And Flayers will normally get there on pigs because of the bravery.
He had to run, though.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So for some reason, he couldn't do that or whatever. He leaves him on 1 wound. I win by 1 point. I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. I'm the best player ever. Next round, I go into
Forget about the first game.
Yeah,
I'm the best player ever.
That was unwinnable.
Yeah.
That was simply unwinnable.
Forget about the first game and the first half of this game.
Where I literally was like, I'm the worst player. I need to go back and reconsider my entire life because what am I doing? I'm wasting time. So then I go in the 3rd round. I'm playing against this guy named Mario. Super nice guy. He's playing the exact same Glotkin Nurgle list that I played probably a month and a half ago on the channel. It's 3 units of 5 Blight Kings, Glotkin, Orgots, and the Lord of Plagues. I'm like, I know exactly what to do against this. So he kind of deploys where I'm like, he's going to come at me with the Glotkin. I'm like, I can kill the Glotkin. So I give him the first turn. He moves kind of into the middle of the board with everything, and I'm like, based on like what I can do, there's no way he can really stop me from getting in, even if because I can do all my hero phase moving. There's not much of a way. I killed Glock first turn.
Sure.
I'm like, let's get to the wrap up phase here, guys. You know, this is all over about the crying.
He plays with a 700-point handicap.
No, he's done. Orgots is tucked away where I can't get to him because I'm like smushed between two objectives, and then I have pigs. I've done a lot of damage to his Blight King, so I'm like, you know, this is just over. So I doubled him, and I swear he had 5 Blight Kings, Orgots, like 2 Blight Kings, and then a group of Nurglings, and I'm like, well, I mean, we're just wrap-up phase. I mean, and he gets playing, and he gets to a turn, he wipes out my Brutes, and then I come and I pincher him between the Rogue Idol and my Maw Crusher, and I'm like, as soon as Orgots dies, I've got to bring it down on him all over.
Right.
Let's just
his damage
put this
potential is gone at that point.
We'll just put this to bed.
The fact that you're still telling this story
Maw
tells
Crusher
me how it went.
Maw Crusher leaves him on 2 wounds, and the whole time he's like doing his saves, he's putting the mortals back into the Rogue Idol. Right. He tacks the Rogue Idol down to like 2 wounds remaining. All I gotta do is 2 wounds. He still has the 2 attacks. Yeah. Hit with both of those, he saves them. Those are the D6 damage.
Sure.
Then I have 4 attacks. Hit with all 4, wound with all 4. He saves 1 of them. He needs to make 5 out of 6 5-ups. He makes 5 out of 6 5-ups. Passes the 2 6-ups onto the Rogue Idol. Rogue Idol dies. And then it was just like the disease points started racking up. The Mega Boss was in pretty bad shape, and he just took over the board, and he won. So
that's payback for your pig survivor.
Yeah.
How did he act after that game? Because the games where you're down as far as you can possibly be at like a deflated turn 1.
He was honestly the nicest guy ever. But like at that point, I'm like, just like, what happened? What happened? You know, and I'm like, we were always playing to like the last minute too, and I'm like, we gotta speed up. And he was thinking a lot and talking about a lot through his moves, and which is understandable, but I was like, oh, we gotta go. Sure. So literally, I lost by 1 point in it. So it's like, whatever.
So you've had 3 very close games.
Yes, 3 very close games. One, honestly, it should have probably been that I lost the first one, lost the second one, won the third one. But, you know, I was sitting at 1 and 2. That's probably why I should have done. That night, I met 2 of Austin's good friends from Indianapolis, Dakota and Jordan. Great guys. Already planning on doing tournaments with them in Indianapolis and Philadelphia for Summer Slaughter. And another guy that was staying with us was named John. He was running this list that I think is probably the most broken list in 3.0 that nobody's talking about. Quick rundown, it's like 3 units of 20 Reavers, a Leviathan, Eidolon, and a Tidecaster to flip the tides.
Yeah.
Anyways, what you can do now with Reavers War Scroll got updated. They're now hitting on 3s and 3s, -1 rend. Sure. If you come into them, they get +1 to hit. Reverberating Carapace on the Leviathan gives them 1 to hit. So when they unleash, and if they're within a certain amount of the Eidolon, they're +1 to wound. Yeah, sure. And they get reroll ones from their their special sub-allegiance. So if you come into them, they're shooting you 40 times, 2s and 2s, rerolling 1s, 1 rend.
Hitting on 2s in Unleash Hell.
In Unleash Hell. And he's flipping the tide, so I mean he's 1 drop. If he's flipping the tides, he's getting out there and he's running and shooting. And I mean, we pretty much thought there's no way he's losing. I had anointed the list the best. We are all frustrated that the list was allowed because it's old book with new rules, which gets a little complicated. Yeah. Well, you know, that's why we play a game. He ended up losing to someone that Tom Guan made a couple of 11-inch charges. Sure. Got into his stuff, and you know, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. So he took 2nd place, but really, I think Reavers right now are where to be until they get their book.
Yeah, sure. And so he was flipping the tides and then changing Ed Tide into Flood Tide with Futan, I think, where you can run and charge.
Yep. Turn
1, turn 2 is all your attacks, and then turn 3 is run and charge again.
And he plays a lot of Warhammer. He's very good.
Yeah.
I remember texting Nick. I'm like, he plays 15 games a week. I'm lucky if I get 2 in. How can I even compete with this? So anyways,
people played lists like that too before they got their update. in
And they're
Fury
just
of the
better
Deep.
now.
Yeah,
they're
it's
just
just
way
a better list. It's more expensive though, right? I think Reavers are more
You can
expensive
get
now.
60 and so easy.
Yeah.
So how'd your last 2 games go?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I played Graham in round 4. He was on the list that I've been wanting to play. He was on a Stormcast list that was actually Annihilator heavy. He tanked up behind 10 protectors.
Sure.
He put his raptors back there, and I just went in full force. I did what I did. I wiped his screen, but it took like most of my stuff. But the good thing was I was able to pile in and then do the Blood Twos after movement into his raptors, taking off enough of them to really hurt him. He brought his Annihilators down, made his charge. Maw Crusher wasn't in perfect shape because the protectors are good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he did like slay the Warlord, and the thing I'm realizing the more and more you play this game is crazy dice happen all the time. I needed to make probably 7 out of 8 3-ups to kill him, and I made 7 out of 8 3-ups or to save the Maw Crusher, and then Maw Crusher just he couldn't kill it and kind of spiraled for him then because he didn't get rid of anything and I was killing stuff back. So that was it was a good list, but it was what I was prepared for, and I tanked. So things went really well for me. Then I actually played my now friend Jordan. We're probably best friends now, but whatever.
You're very quick to get it.
Yeah. So he was playing his. He had 30. Who's the shooter guys for LRL? 30 Sentinel list with like 4 10-packs of Wardens and.
Who's the constantly complained about unit that we see like everywhere? Sentinel.
So
he regrets not running 60, by the way.
Yeah. He should have ran 60. Long story short, is another totally close game. I gave him first turn, or he won first turn, so he put up all his buffs. He shot at the Rogue Idol. The Rogue Idol did fairly well in saves. Then I went and wiped all the Wardens. Just they're all gone. And then I got the double. I was able to get into his Sentinels with the Maw Crusher. He did pretty well with his after saves. And then Techless started like just killing all my pegs.
Yeah, sure.
So,
as Techless does.
Yeah. So then it kind of came into, if he would have doubled me going into turn 3, it was like super game on. But if I retained priority, I was going to win. So that's what happened. I retained priority, and I rolled a 2. And there's nothing worse than when you throw out that 2 and you're just like, this one's over. Yeah. And then he rolls a 2 and it just stays the way it was. So it was awesome. Everybody was super nice. Austin went 4-1. That was good for him. I went 3-2. 3-2 is kind of what that's what I wanted. Not wanted better.
Yeah.
Sure. Wouldn't have been upset with the 3-2. So I went 3-2 and I was fine with that. Obviously, I hope to get better in future tournaments. I hope that you guys can come with me next year. It's super fun. Being at a brewery is fun. It is kind of funny though because I don't always talk about like that I'm a Warhammer player, but then you're walking out with your models among all these just normal people who are drinking their beers, having a coffee, and it's like, yeah, I'm playing with little dollies.
Yeah.
So
at least you're far away from home.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Chance of being
Not one person will ever see me again. So great time. I highly suggest traveling for tournaments. It's not so much about the games, but the games are awesome. It's about the people you meet and the good times you have. Like, I got some friends in Cincinnati now. I hope to see you again in Indy. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like some crazy dice.
All over the place.
Yeah. It's one of
close games, which is really what you want.
Yeah,
you want those
games
battles.
It's one of those things that I love and hate about dice. Like the crazy dice games is if you get the rolls, you're like, oh, that just feels so good. And if you don't get them, you're like, I don't want to complain about dice.
Well, it's a nice thing in that you can celebrate when they go well, and you can just blame the dice when they don't. Right? You can just say it had nothing to do with my skill.
I really wish there was like a god level of dice rolling that would be like calculating out how things are going, because I think even when you feel the dice go bad, I think you'd be surprised at the end of the game how like close to average everything ends up. Like,
very often, yeah.
You just gotta record everything you roll.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
So because I noticed that even against Austin and you this week in our game, it's just like I was rolling hot early, you were rolling. It's just everything kind of seems to equal out.
If any of our viewers of our battle reports want to track all of our dice rolls and give us nice averages,
please go ahead. That's why we have the dice game. We're waiting for you to step up and do it.
You have better things to do. I don't even know you. You have better things to do.
So let's talk about
Beasts of Chaos.
Beasts of Chaos.
Yeah.
An army that was needing it and got it.
Yeah.
And the way they got it.
Yeah.
Right? Just the smallest change in scope. One war scroll change and some monstrous actions.
Why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, if you would have told me before this that they got one war scroll change and some monstrous actions, I would have said, oh, they're just trashed here until the next book. But
it's a flash in a pan that turned into a kitchen fire.
Right. So the Herdstone and Beast of Chaos players, like diehard Beast of Chaos players, have been saying forever, all we need is that the Herdstone starts at higher range, and then the bubble grows from there.
How high range did they want? Like 12?
I think they wanted
18?
it to start at 12. It was the most common consensus. So instead of starting at 6 inches of the -1 to rend, they get 12 inches is what was most commonly requested.
What about 44 by 60?
44 by 60 seems like a good range.
That's
right in there.
I think that's going to be easy enough to get your army within.
And it's easy to keep track of. You don't have to do a lot of fiddly measuring. So table wide, -1 to rend or
-1
or
to
+1 to
rend.
rend.
But -1 to rend. That's good enough.
Yes. And then they got in turn 3 that turns into -2 to rend.
Wait for
the entire
for the
army,
elite stuff.
Certainly that's
for the entire
for
army.
not the 70 point.
Even the 60 and 70 point models are now round 3, run around 2 rend. I mean, what a glow up!
Yeah.
And it's just when you play an army, the way you should play it is just to like stack your lines. Just here's a line 3.1. Here's a line 3.1. Here's a line 3.1, and just say, "Get through me." Yeah. And now it's not get through me. It's don't die. Yeah, survive.
You're going to kill this screen, and then my next 60-point screen is coming into you with Rend 2. Just deal with it.
They have other good stuff, like their movement on, like, you can take Skyfires or Zangor Enlightened to fly around and, really get in the back lines and threaten stuff like that.
And those were always good, punchy units. The Skyfires aren't getting the extra rend because it's a melee only rend buff, but the Zangor Enlightened are now really killy.
Yeah.
And the Skyfires in melee are no slouch with their extra rend now.
Yeah.
And the Skyfires are the ones that if you attack first, they get to reroll everything, and then Enlightened if they attack second, which is a little hard now in this game to attack second because everything's so killy.
Yeah, everything just dies. But,
yeah.
And then in addition to that, as if they needed more, they got a slew of new cool monstrous actions. So you can run a ton of different monsters, have a ton of different monstrous actions, and some of them are really, really good on units that you probably wouldn't bring otherwise.
Yeah, tell us about them, Alex.
So we've got the thing that I'm not sure if I 100% like about them is 5 of the 6 are tied to a specific unit.
But that's actually not bad because then you don't have to worry about when let's say you play multiple monsters. What I always find is so I played 3 Great Unclean ones recently. You're only going to get to do Loathsome Flesh from one of them, right?
Sure.
But now if you have 3 different things, they can keep picking these. Well, go ahead and tell us them all.
Okay. So the Gorgon, which I think this is probably my favorite one. It just gets -1 rend until the end of the phase, in addition to the Herdstone -1 or -2.
Or -2,
yeah.
And they cost 130 points or 150.
Plus what it's got on the War Scroll.
Yeah, plus what it has on the War Scroll. And then if it slays an enemy model,
just a model?
Just heals. Just a model. It heals a number of wounds equal to the wounds characteristic of the slain model. You can only do it once per battle, per Gorgon, but...
Once per turn, right? Once per monstrous action?
No, once per battle, per Gorgon.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, that's super strong.
Yes.
Especially with the number of, 9 wound flying things that are going around. It's not... It by itself, it's not a super punchy unit on its War Scroll.
But it's cheap as heck.
Well, and if you're giving it -2 or 3 rend on top of what it has.
Right. And that's a theme throughout Beasts of Chaos. Like, a lot of those War Scrolls don't really get there.
Yeah.
But when you add 1 rend to all of them, or 2 rend to all of them, suddenly they're pretty punchy.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. The Cygor gets gets basically an endless spell, eat, with 2d6.
Cygor's still gonna suck.
Yeah, with 2d6.
You're still not gonna see any Cygors, guys. Sorry.
But you heal that number, whatever you rolled. But
Who
it's
plays that in
dependent
the
on
spells now?
yeah, it's
Right.
dependent on somebody else's endless spell meaning you can get into it.
Interesting picks like that. I don't know how much the Cygor costs in summoning, but matchup dependent. When you are a summoning army and you have that flexibility, you can tech in a summon specifically for that.
For sure.
Yeah, the one that I like, I think I like the most is the Jabberslythe,
Absolutely.
which you pick an enemy hero within 3 inches and roll a die. On a 1, nothing happens. All right.
Sucks.
Yeah, you get sucked.
Sucks.
16.7%
Sucks
chance.
to suck.
On a
I
2
heard
to
that
5.
about
On a 2 to 5, worsen the save characteristic by 1. On a 6, worsen it by 2. So we were looking at this unit before. It has 6 attacks at rend, -3 with the Herdstone. At turns
-4 sometimes.
Potentially -4. Only 1 damage, 3s and 3s for that, and then another 1 attack with I think it's D3 damage, but it hits on 4-up. Does mortal wounds on 4-ups for each damage it does.
In addition. And
it is 165 points.
You're really bringing it for one purpose.
Yeah.
And that's to get into the save stacked God Beast on the other side.
Yeah.
And worsen its save characteristic for the rest of the game.
And
so good though.
That it's the same cost as an Alapex now with the new points cost. And a 12-inch move, 10 wounds. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It gives you so many options now.
And the interaction there, changing the save characteristic is better than Ren.
Yes.
Because you look at things like Night Haunt, not exactly crushing the meta, but Night Haunt, it works against them in a way that Ren wouldn't. And that Legion of Blood Vampire Lore that's on that 2-up unrendable, well, no, now it's on a 4-up unrendable. That's a big deal.
It would be really nice if you could still not go below 1, so you could get into the Stylodons and make them take Ren, but none of that matters anyway.
Wait,
they
did they change their rule?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, where have you been?
I don't know. People tell me rules and then I try to remember them. Basically.
Yeah. The Chimera gets a +1 attacks characteristics to all its melee weapons, but they all have to go into the same unit. Additional attacks are always good. And then there is a 6/1. Did I read them all? Yeah. A 6/1 on a 2 to 5, you get a primordial call point. On a 6, you get 3.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, especially because I can bring it up because I just had it up. But I think the cheapest summonable unit comes in at 3.
And now all the summonable units are just good. There's nothing that's sure they're chaff, but now they're chaff that can do damage.
And when you're summoning, by the time you're summoning, you're coming into turn 3, turn 4. Even that chaff is at 2 rend.
So what I'm going to tell Beast of Chaos players is protect that Herdstone.
Yes.
With 2 to 3 lines. I mean, spend the 210 points you have to do to get 3 lines of Ungor or whatever, just to keep stuff more than 3 inches away from that. Because I mean, honestly, that's pretty key.
That's so much easier than it used to be, though, because with the range bubble and the way it worked before, you had to push it as far forward as you could. Yeah. Now you throw some Ungors in the back with it. You're just sacrificing them to it to get your primordial call points, and it's tucked away in a corner, still projecting that table-wide bubble.
Yeah, I have the table here. Ungors start at 3. It goes up to Chaos Spawn, and then Ungor Raiders come in at 4 with Gores and
I still like Ungor Raiders too.
Yeah. So with that monstrous rampage, you don't have to be within 3 inches of an enemy for that.
No.
So
Which one?
The one for the primordial call point.
Oh,
so
that's sick.
Every turn, not just every round, but every turn, you've got some monster somewhere on the board that's rolling for an extra primordial call point. That's potentially 7 a game, 6, 7 a game, extra primordial call points that you weren't getting before for very little tax.
It's so funny too because we have a player that's on our Discord. His name is Risen, and I think he enjoyed a little bit the Schadenfreude of having like the worst army.
He wants to fight his way through having that low tier army.
Well, and
now he's saddled with S tier.
Yeah, he's just saddled with a beast.
He had the he was right when he was saying they have to change like the war scrolls are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed one war scroll that affects all of them.
Yeah.
You do have to have a Herdstone, which
and you actually have to have Beast of Chaos, which I don't know how many people have now. But
a lot of people will.
You will
have
be
it
seeing
now.
them on channel, and I just plan on just making
Yeah.
someone's life
Yeah,
really
get out
difficult.
because they've been available at your store for a long
Yeah.
time, and they might not be for forever.
They're
And the
very
thing is-
dusty on the back
Yeah.
shelf.
I don't know. Does this Herdstone? Does the second ability for the
It's a
have
great-
the number of models that flee? Was that always on there?
No, it used
No,
to
that's
be,
new.
It used to be just that bubble. The way it worked was it gave like no battle shot. You didn't have to
Battle
take battle
shock.
shot.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is still good because it's growing larger and you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it starts at 12 inches, and it increases by 6.
so
at the
basically,
beginning of
third
each
turn
battle
you
round.
should be in pretty close range.
Yeah,
I love the way this ability works too, in that it's battle shock reduction, but there's too much battle shock immunity in the game where you just ignore a ton of mechanics where you're manipulating bravery and you ignore one phase of the game basically from battle shock immunity.
Yep.
And the fact that this is giving you good defense against battle shock but not complete immunity, I really like that. I hope they play in that space a little bit more.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that the cockatrice didn't get any kind of monstrous action
Sure.
because they must have been good enough. So
and a thing that we haven't talked about, but you do get if you're within this range of the. Is it within the range? Yeah, wholly within the range. Rally works on a 4-up.
Yeah, which can
So-
be really good
Yeah.
the way you want to play beasts, because you've got a ton of bodies, a ton of little units, and you're just chaffing. That's what you're doing the entire
Yeah.
game is chaffing, getting in the way,
and
getting
it's
in
just
the way.
and the fact that it's just not chaff anymore. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
put a hurt on you.
I've played against Alex with his Stormcast, where he's rallying on a 5-up, and he's getting like twice the number of models back on a 4-up. That's good.
That's
It
so
can
good.
be really, really good, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the fact that rally's on in both turns, potentially. If you got the command points, you're rallying in your
Yeah.
turn, and you can bring back a lot of
Yeah.
models.
The only thing that sucks is you do have to be outside of that 3 inches. So
Right.
if you're just like soaking up damage, you have to be smart about how you take them away.
Sure.
Otherwise, you wind up trying to set yourself up
Right.
in the next turn or whatever. But
That would have been a nothing ability before because you were never going to punch through whatever you were in combat
Yeah.
with, but now you can.
yeah, really solid. There is they did give you a new grand strategy. If there's no enemy units within 9 and it hasn't been destroyed for the Herdstone, you get your grand strategy.
Sure.
Kind of a.
I mean,
like
I think
that they're
Cold
building.
Alliance going to be fine.
Yes,
But
I like that they're building these grand strategies such that they can be interesting, flavorful picks.
Yeah, they
like
can be
fit
good for the
theme.
basement.
Right, but they are not going to take over the meta, right?
you know what though? I will say there's nothing like when you have a new book and you just have no good battle tactics and you start like scrolling through your book and you're like, I can actually do this.
Right.
one.
That's
It's so tricky.
and
Like
that's-
I pulled that twice in the tournament. Like there's this one that's like get the gets or something, and all you gotta do is get rid of their last unit of battle line, and when you're at the end of the game, there's not much battle line sitting around.
Right.
It just feels so good to sneak that one out.
Yeah, and there's for battle tactics in here because they did 3 battle tactics too. Kill an enemy unit within 9 inches of the Herdstone. Pick an
Oof.
enemy unit and kill
Yeah.
it. That's definitely doable. And then there's one that you can only do in the first turn to get your general and 2 other Beasts of Chaos units within 3 inches of an enemy unit. That's totally doable if you're going second.
Yeah, but you probably don't want to bring your general in like that, right?
I mean, I don't know what the general is.
Their generals are just the worst.
Yeah.
That is one. The only thing holding back the army at this point is, I think
Depth of
maybe
heroes.
like they have terrible heroes. I think
Yeah.
maybe like the Dragon Ogre Shagath is pretty good,
He's solid, yeah.
but the rest of them, like if you take like the Brayherd, you take like a Beast Lord, and even the Bolgord is not. A hero's not great.
A couple of them are fine,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be things that you want to throw into combat.
No, they're not
going to be
sticking around.
there for utility.
Yeah.
They're
Well-
foot heroes.
Yeah, but like you said, it's one of those situations where you get battle tactics like beasts have something, and you'll be looking through your book and you're like, what can I do? And it's like, oh, I can actually do this.
Right. And I actually want to this turn.
Yeah. It's options. Options are okay.
Yeah, no, it's never bad because has there ever been a game where we don't scramble into our books if you have them just to be like, there's got to be one. There's got to be one.
Just to rule out the possibility.
Yeah, I accidentally did one way too early, and now I'm out of doable ones.
What do you guys think about this? Is a monumental shift coming from White Dwarf, right? Some of these White Dwarf updates have been small. Some of them have been bigger, like the Sons of Behemoth one. You would always take that one, obviously. But this is a big change for the army. Obviously, you're going to want to run this. It's in a magazine. Some people have some really strong opinions about rules coming in a magazine. What do you guys think about it?
I hate rules bloat, and I hate more books than I need. The nice thing about AOS as compared to something like 40K is that the app works and they update it for White Dwarf stuff.
And it's free.
So I will take those rules updates all the time if they diligently update the app.
Right.
Because when I played Seraphon over at Justin's house, and I don't have the White Dwarf with any of the new Seraphon stuff, but it was all in the app, and
it wasn't quite all in the app. Battle tactics they don't have in the app, which I think is a really interesting omission.
That's weird. You should be able. I mean, I'm totally fine with them putting codes into books and letting you add stuff to the app. I'm committed. I'm gonna buy books if I get rules in them. It's a $10 books. That is not free, but it's not how much we pay for models and stuff like that. I always love it. And my feeling is Beast of Chaos is not getting a book for a long time.
Right. I think that's true of all of these White Dwarf updates, right?
Yeah.
These are the armies, presumably, that are not going to be touched for a while.
I could see Beast of Chaos not getting a book for 3 years. You know what I mean? Because they have been the stepchild. But they're not going to fix them anytime soon. I don't think all of a sudden you're going to see their points go up in the next data sheet or whatever you want to call it.
I think you'll probably see some points go up on the cheapest chaff.
In the summer, though. I think you have 4 months before you have to worry about that.
Yeah, maybe so.
And there's no bad... Just give me rules. Just give them to me on old stuff. Just bring old toys current and however you're going to do it. People complain they're in a book. Google exists. Has anyone ever been held back from finding rules?
Yeah, and for me, it's all about if the app works.
Sure.
We played, not AOS related, but we played 40K, and my friend has Tyranids, so he had to bring his codex, his rulebook, his...
Wait, codex is different than a rulebook, or are you just saying that?
No, the main rulebook.
Gotcha.
Yeah, codex, rulebook, the chapter approved. He had to bring the Psychic Awakening. He had to bring the Warzone book. And it's he had a 40-pound backpack.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I'm like, all right. And he's like, if the app worked, I wouldn't have any of this stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
So as long as they do
way to ruin any chance we have of getting a preview. Just bashing them. I'm just kidding.
But the AOS app works great.
Yeah, but flawless, really.
Yeah.
So my point of view on this is that one, they're a company, right? Their only incentive to do these rules is ultimately to sell something.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's how companies work, especially shareholder-driven companies.
Yeah.
So they've got to somehow sell these rules. If the White Dwarf means that they can release these once a month in addition to the Battletome cycle, and we see the Battletome cycle being so delayed right now for printing reasons and every other reason we've heard of. If we can additionally have a rules update every month because of this, and we wouldn't have it otherwise, then I'm super happy to have it.
Yeah, and I understand people's thoughts of I bought the book, and you're not giving me a new army or a whole new set of rules. You're giving me an addendum to what I play. So why doesn't that just come with it? Sure. And I get that totally, but I just like new rules. And Beast of Chaos players are Risen in the Discord, which by the way the Discord is linked below if you want to join.
Yeah, for sure.
He rightly so talks about how Beast of Chaos couldn't stand up. and he saw these rules, and he was like,
Now I get
he's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. So it's, that wouldn't happen without the White Dwarf, but it could also happen through, some kind of, release for that book. So it's I don't know, it's a slippery slope. I like getting new rules, so yeah.
I think there's going to have to be a little bit of a paradigm shift, though. We currently expect that every rule that you're going to play at a tournament, you're bringing a hard copy for. And if, like you said, Beast of Chaos doesn't get a new book for 3 years, you're going to be dragging around a magazine for 3 years to play that army. And that's an ugly experience.
There are tournaments, though, that do require hard copy stuff.
Yeah.
I think every tournament says it, but I've never had anyone.
I haven't gotten called on it, but
I don't really see like a lot of that. I don't go to a wide swath of tournaments, especially nowadays. But if people keep pushing for print, let's just do it digital.
Right. I think we're going to have to transition toward the app being acceptable.
Yeah.
And I think the first step of that is that the app has to be accurate, which by and large, they do a great job with it. It is the vast majority of the content in the app is accurate.
Sometimes they even sneak in rule changes real quiet on the download.
Right. But ultimately, once that's locked in, then the app is going to have to be acceptable to get away from this problem of dragging around 3
The only problem with the app right now is it doesn't put out lists as well as War Scroll Builder.
Sure.
Honestly,
War Scroll Builder is so good.
They improved it.
They did. I haven't even, because I just think of lists on the app and then I immediately go and put them in a War Scroll Builder.
It's still not as good as War Scroll Builder.
I do the exact same thing.
These are the same companies.
I know. Right. It's unbelievable that they don't have that. They haven't blended that.
They are fair game to rip each other off here. So hopefully that's a plug to please, app developers, rip off the export from War Scroll Builder and just have that as a checkbox option if you want to keep the other output, but make those the same.
So the last thing I'll say about Beast of Chaos, I just cut you off.
Yeah.
There's no bad way to build that army anymore.
No.
Like, every model you have is now just good. Everything. I mean,
I will.
Except that don't do all Cygors.
No, not Cygors. There's still one really, really bad War Scroll in that book.
Hold on, let me see if I can guess it.
I
don't know. What is it?
It's Slangars.
Sure.
It's not in that book, but it's in the army, and it is trash. Even with the extra rend, it's awful, and you should never take it.
One of the things we're talking about, which will, if we're done with,
let's move on. Let's move on.
One of the things we're talking about with app and War Scroll Builder, just to transition into our next topic, which is Idoneth and Fyreslayers.
Yep.
Getting an update, or getting rules previewed for the upcoming books. The thralls in the app are 120 points with their old profile, and they're 130 points.
It is weird that they haven't decided to fix that for the box set that came out.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's like, locking the new rules behind the paywall.
Like, you shouldn't let people Frankenstein rules.
Yeah, well, and not necessarily that, but if you want the new rules, you get the War Scroll cards that come in the box.
Yeah,
sure. And
until the book actually comes out.
Yeah, and War Scroll Builder doesn't have rules, so we'll update the points.
Sure. War Scroll Builder is run by like an independent guy that just does this, I think, for the love of the game. Mm-hmm. So he's awesome. I did not know. I apologize, I don't know his name.
It's very much a partnership with Games Workshop. I mean, obviously they're hosting it on their site and they're benefiting from it. But yeah, it's a passion project.
Yeah, I did not know that. I thought that was
Yeah, he's super awesome for all the stuff he does.
Well, shout out to you, person.
We'll add that in our next video.
But I'm definitely gonna have to look that up. So, but Fyreslayers, we'll start there because that's the faction that I think we know. We've definitely played against them a bunch, but don't play them ourselves.
Fyreslayers is starting to worry me. And
yes.
The reason it's worrying me is that I've seen one other release that felt a lot like this, where we got almost no previews, almost no rules in advance, and that was the most recent Knights book. That's what this is starting to feel like, and I'm starting to get real worried for Fyreslayers players. Call your Fyreslayers friends. Let them know you're there for them.
Yeah, and there's...
I have a contrasting view to that, but
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, and part of that, we were talking in the Discord which is linked down below. You can join. I'll say it as many times as I bring it up. It feels like they're giving a lot of breadth to the Eldar release.
Sure. Yeah.
That is a
for people that don't know, that's 40K really bad game.
Yeah. It's even called like the bad game in the Discord.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But they're giving on Warhammer community, they're giving a lot of breadth to an army that's has models that are old enough to drink or rent a car.
Sure.
And they're updating that. So it feels like a lot of, Idoneth and Fyreslayers, they said, are coming out before the end of winter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when they call the end of winter, but
I think they have technically 30 days, right?
Yeah. So, but they haven't talked about either faction really that much, and they've been all Eldar. So I'm expecting if the Eldar book comes for pre-release this weekend, we might hit hard into Fyreslayers and Idoneth.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
I like what we've seen for Idoneth so far.
Yeah,
I
looks
think there's
really
some interesting
good.
things. I think
Are they elves?
They are elves. Yeah. I don't know that the book is going to get stronger because Idoneth is in a good place.
I feel.
Could you
but I
read
think it's going to be better.
Could you read what the one spoiled thing we know about Fyreslayers is now?
We know a couple things.
Tell us. Let us know.
Blaze of Fury, which is a new heroic action, which is pick a friendly Fyreslayers hero until the end of your turn. The enhanced effect of Urgrel Rune that's activated in the hero phase applies to that hero regardless of the activation roll.
Which I think is cool.
And you can't.
It's neat. It's flavorful.
And you can't do it more than once per battle per hero. So
that's fine because it gives them something else to do besides Finest
just
Hour.
like Greatest Day Ever. Or Finest Hour.
The thing I don't like about this is that it means that they're keeping this mechanic of this enhanced Urgold, which is so swingy on some of those when you happen to hit the 6, which just feels a little bit ugly to be banking on that 6, and most of the time you don't get it, and then occasionally you get it and it's a huge swing. Yeah. It's like hitting the 18 on the Engine of the Gods or something.
But at the same time, they're, at least what they've shown so far, they're buffing the standard Urgold rules to a point where they're good by themselves.
Sure.
And then the enhanced feels actually enhanced, whereas I'll read these are some of the other things that were spoiled. The Rune of Fiery Determination. What it used to do, and by the way, I love, if anybody from Warhammer community is watching, showing the old rules with the new rules is perfect.
Yeah.
The standard effect was add 1 bravery, or add 1 to the bravery characteristic of friendly Fyreslayers units.
So effectively nothing.
Yes. And the enhanced was they don't have to take battle shock tests, which is an ability.
It's a good one.
It's not bad, especially when you can't use a command point to save all your units anymore.
It's great when you catch the 6, but you don't know when you use that ability if you're going to catch the 6.
Yeah.
Yes. The new, same rule, the new effects are standard effect, 6 up ward for the whole army. Enhanced effect, 5 up ward. 5 up ward for heroes.
Which you can take with that heroic action.
Yes. So it is significantly better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
6 up ward is, it's not like, we talked about not good enough necessarily to bring the amulet, but if you have a army-wide 6 up...
And it's just free.
Yeah, 6 up ward that's free.
Often those Fyreslayers units before had those wards, though.
Yeah, that's
from
the
various
weird thing.
mechanisms. So now, they might be getting it here for 1 turn and not having it elsewhere.
And that's part of the triple Mohawk guy. I think he now hands out that ability, right? He hands out the wards on once he racks up the 6 killed guys. It's a weird rule, but yeah, it is kind of bleeding towards that the units aren't going to be as good, and they only have.
And we saw that
4.
from the War Scrolls.
Yeah, the War Scrolls from the Fury of the Deep. And they feel like they got a War Scroll nerf, and their points went up.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Meg Madras.
Yes.
Nick talked about the motivation for Motivation to make money. Nobody plays Magma Dross. Although, I don't know one Fyreslayers player that doesn't have a bunch of Magma
They all
Dross.
have the Magma Dross, so this isn't driving sales. But one of the things Games Workshop loves to do is whatever's bad in the last book is going to be good. And whatever's good in the last book is going to be bad. Yep, Reavers and Thralls are now on the way up.
I bet you Eels are going to be on the way down.
Hearthguard Berserkers, looking like they're sliding down.
Yeah.
Volkites on the way down.
Don't look great.
Yeah, but Magma Dross.
20 points.
Yeah.
Magma Dross could get real good.
Yeah.
And that heroic action, you throw it on a Magma Dross,
Mm-hmm.
you give them a 5-up, and now all of a sudden you're bombing in. And I still think their rules are going to be better. They're going to be more hitty. They're maybe faster, and that's what they've always lacked: is speed in the army.
Yep.
That's my only hope, is either that they have really good allegiance abilities or, sub-allegiance abilities that make them good, because right now their units look pretty. Yeah. And then all of a sudden now we have heroes on Magma Dross that are going all over the board and doing cool stuff.
So do you think the Fury of the Deep War Scrolls are the new book War Scrolls?
I do. I don't know that the points are going to stay, because we've seen where points change 3 times in a relatively short period, like War Scrolls, and then they figure stuff out. But dragons have already changed multiple times.
They changed twice before they came out.
Yeah.
So there's also a Rune of Searing Heat, which the standard effect used to be unmodified wound roll for an attack made by a Fyreslayers unit 6 plus 1 damage. And the enhanced effect was roll a die for each enemy unit within 3 inches of any friendly Fyreslayer units, and on a 2-up, they suffer a mortal wound.
So that's the kind of enhanced effect that I kind of like, where you're getting almost all of the effect by selecting the Urgold, and the enhanced effect is a nice extra bonus. And sometimes they're that way, and sometimes they weren't.
New effect, unmodified wound roll for an attack is a 6. It causes a mortal wound to the target in addition.
Mm-hmm. Which is just a straight upgrade.
Yeah, it's great. Enhanced is when the rune's activated, roll a die for each enemy unit within 3 inches, and on a 2-up, they suffer a mortal wound.
Sure.
So,
just an upgrade on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that...
I mean, you were really the old enhanced one was always one that you didn't pick, I feel.
Well, the enhanced is the same.
No, I mean, the old just rule in general.
To get the extra damage on wound rolls of 6. Yeah. Now, if you have a big block that's got a big volume of attacks that's going in, it's pretty appealing.
Yeah.
Maybe you did. I'm talking like I played Fyreslayers. Maybe you did. I know that there was always a priority, you knew 1 through 5. Maybe it was the Battle Shock one you never took because they were tough to begin with.
Yeah.
And
you
then
probably took
the
that
6 was always the 5th and 6th were I'll take them because I got to. But.
Yeah.
Right. I think one interesting interaction there is that the flaming poleaxes are worse with it than the broadaxes, because with the flaming poleaxes on 6s to hit, you're not going through the attack sequence to get to the 6s to wound.
Yeah.
So the broadaxes get some love there. Always something interesting to call out when they have an allegiance ability that specifically helps one type of weapon.
So nervous about this book. I've always liked Fyreslayers, but right now you can't have good vibes about them.
Do you have Fyreslayers?
I might. but here's the thing.
I feel like you have armies that you don't even know you have.
Justin definitely has Fyreslayers.
I have Fyreslayers. I'm slow. It's a slow build.
Sure.
I have them. I just gotta paint them all. Which I don't really do. So
I've seen your Magma Droths.
Yeah,
they look
those
good.
are cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I have seen your Magma Droth sitting on that.
They've been sitting on the
desk for the entire time I've known you.
Yeah.
So
they want to sell Fyreslayers, right? They're the worst selling army from everything I know of.
Is that going to change here?
If you make the Magma Dross good, I think everybody's. Oh, those are great models. They're cool.
awesome models, and they're what you want from the Lava Dwarfs.
And you can actually tell the difference between them. You
Right.
know, the guys on the back. There's only one guy, so you can generally tell if they're the son, the father, or the.
It's my least favorite part of Fyreslayers is you cannot tell. It
took me so long to learn. You the only identifier is the weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I look at those and I'm like,
and how many mohawks they have, right?
The 3 mohawks is the best. I'm sorry, you guys.
I hate
he's got 3 mohawks and a rock cape. I mean, come on.
I actually think that ability might be okay because you can double stack if you have 2 heroes, so they can count and pass out. But
I like it because of the charging in the opponent's phase is so big.
Yeah.
I really like that. it's worth the tax of having to lose the models.
Yeah.
To have such an impactful ability on a cheap hero.
Yeah. It's just, I think we talked about it last time, but I just wish it was a progressive thing where like, okay, the you know, it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and if I want number 4, I just have to get to 4, as opposed to, you know, get up to 6 every time. But I'm sure then, you know, the charge would be number 2, and you're just like, oh, I'll lose 2 models in charge.
So to wrap up Fyreslayers, if you could pick one thing that you want to see in the book, what do you want to see?
Specifically at this point, I would have to look at. I would like to see run in charge on just all the magma drops as just a core rule on them.
Sure.
Just so that they can push up and be relatively tough. I'm assuming they're going to be relatively tough. And then your units that don't appear that hitty can camp and slowly move up to be your like second line of things coming in.
Sure. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say I wish they were faster, but at the same time, they're not supposed to be faster. But the invocations, a couple times I've played against Fyreslayers, and the invocations he's used, they seem like, oh, he lays it out and they're going to do so much damage, and then they just kind of like peter out and go away. So I really hope for an upgrade, like a straight upgrade to what all the invocations do. Especially that cool one with the with like the magma guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to see that on the table.
They are
in the
bad.
same way that like in the same way that Daughters of Cain, like as much as I don't want to play Daughters of Cain, I want to see the snake on the table.
This snake looks so good.
Yeah.
Daughters of Cain is getting another new book.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to get into it because we're running long already, but it just boggles my mind that Daughters of Cain is in a perfectly fine spot. Maybe the witches aren't great, and maybe the Sisters of Slaughter aren't.
And you probably want to see some kind of fix to Marathi and the Bow Snakes. Yeah.
I doubt they're going to fix Marathi.
And
they've had plenty of
FAQ
time
could
to
tweet
do
that.
Yeah, they'll fix her. She'll go down 200 points.
I think, honestly, you're going to see Rend on the Sisters and Rend on the Witches, and then maybe a tapering off of Hero. But
the only reason to do a new book, though, is if they're really revamping the Allegiance abilities at this point.
That's
what has to be happening.
There's no reason to do just an additional Rend on or a Rend on these things, as we've seen with Beasts of Chaos. You might as well have printed in a White Dwarf instead of making a whole new book.
I'm just shocked that that book's coming on already.
One I would say, the thing I'm really hoping for the Fyreslayers book is that the foot heroes really become compelling and interesting in a way that they're not necessarily right now. Right now you've got the one to Deep Strike, and then you've got your other foot heroes, and they're doing their thing. The sons and the father are just kind of there, and they're combat dudes. Making them compelling, I would really love, with interesting different ways that they make that army play. And then I actually, counter to your point, I want them to stay slow. I want armies with interesting strengths and interesting limitations and weaknesses, because I think that
I saw
changes over
Nurgle. Nurgle's very slow, and they play very slow. And if you don't build like with certain builds, they just stay slow.
Sure.
And you don't score objectives at end of games when you tie.
And outside of the book specifically, I would love to see if they're not going to make they should stay slow.
Yeah,
but make like one fast unit. I would love to see another kit.
Holsteg is always given like run in charge or something early on.
I would love to see dwarves standing on rolling lava rocks, and they work like Boingrop bounders,
like circus bears, where they're just rolling along. Yeah,
I would love that.
We're never getting baby drops, are we? We just have to accept that's too great of an idea that can't be brought.
Well,
they sell too many models.
So it's relatively cheap and easy for Games Workshop, and I say this with deep ignorance on the subject. Comparatively speaking, them printing a new book is not a huge ask in terms of personnel time and in terms of all those things. Obviously, printing is difficult, distribution is difficult, but making new molds for a model that then potentially doesn't sell well is something that's unpalatable for them. The cost there is just too much.
Yeah, but you have that potential with any new model they make, and then they just push it as hard as they can. Like look at dragons.
Right. Just
you
make
knew,
them good
you
enough.
knew they were going to sell based on looks,
But they're also going to sell based on faction.
Yeah.
Right. When you've got the faction that is more popular probably than any others.
That's a good point.
Maybe didn't see the most play when the book came out, but everybody's got a little bit of Stormcast.
I bet you they're selling cards like Krondus's Hand Over Fist too, and they're not necessarily like super competitive, but they're fine.
And super cool.
But they look
super,
awesome.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they have dragon personality in their face. They look like the Spyro dragons. Like they have personality in their face.
Fyreslayers does not have that, right? And even if you print a really cool model in Fyreslayers, somebody, especially a new player, is going to look at it and say, "Well, that's a bunch of naked dwarfs plus this cool model. I'm not going to invest." In
Yeah, they don't have the install base really.
Yeah,
I guess, but I still would love.
I wouldn't mind a named hero too.
Sure. Other than Gotrek?
Yes. Well, I don't even count that because he doesn't get the allegiance abilities. But give it like one named hero because Gotrek hates the Fyreslayers. I guess on the fluff he like doesn't like them because they
don't earn enough.
They pay they're mercenaries or something.
You know my diehard adherence to the fluff.
I've never read the first third of a Warhammer book.
Really, never. Oh,
no, I just started with my new Tau Codex, and I'm like. Ugh.
I've stopped reading it because it's always the same. It's like they are bloodthirsty and relentless. And
I try to read my entire codex cover to cover about once a week, just to stay immersed in it. Just to stay immersed.
Like, I would change this. Write a new thing in there.
Sure. I think that's longer than we intended to do on Fyreslayers.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is.
We've got Idoneth to talk about.
Yeah, I think part of that is because we don't know a lot about the factions. So we're like, let's just spitball whatever we can think of. Idoneth is something that we know a lot.
Yeah.
I've played Idoneth on the channel. You've played Idoneth on the channel.
I've played against both of you on Idoneth.
Yep.
They're terrifying.
Yeah.
And now the Leviatans might be getting better.
Mm. But more expensive. They're confirmed as more expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. So they're becoming battle line in Nautoar.
Right, in one subfaction.
Which is good. We see how good it is with Bastillodons.
Well,
or not Bastillodons, Stegodons.
The big thing with becoming battle line, of course, is Hunters of the Heartlands.
Yeah, but how long are we in Gur still?
Well, until the next General's Handbook. So
so at least till June.
Right.
Yeah. So,
but it also opens up possibilities for getting them into a 1-drop more easily and things like that.
Yeah. But Leviathan's becoming the only thing that worried me about this whole thing is that they said you could fit up to 3 in a 2,000 point list. Leviathans are 380 points right now.
Okay? Yeah.
The cheapest hero is Lotan.
Yeah,
he's 75 points. That would push your Leviathan. It would have to be more than 480 points,
right,
to be able to. Assuming Lotan doesn't go up, which why would he really?
Lotan's probably got a new War Scroll.
I bet you he's gonna be decent.
Yep,
but he's a great model.
Oh, so cool.
But that means if their basic hero is in the 70 to 80 point range for their cheapest hero, that puts you at over 480 points. We've talked about the Leviathan on the Discord. Link in the below if you want to join.
I'm just going to edit all those out except the first one. Yeah.
The Leviathan is, we feel, maybe a bit undercosted, but 100 points.
It's gotta be getting improvements.
So it's the exact same story as, I'll compare it to the Ghoul. Ghouls were getting to be like dirt cheap, like 300 points. Now they're almost 500. Are they worth 500? The only reason I'll say they're probably not worth 500 is they're just so painfully slow that they can't get. That's not an issue with Leviathans. They're not slow, and they can. Well, they used to be able to come on off the side of the board. I think ghouls are worth 500 points if they're not getting shot off. Otherwise, they're decent casters. They do a ton of damage now, and they have a bunch of synergies.
When they're able to participate in the combats, they're worth their points.
Yeah.
Right.
And Leviathans are, for the most part, as well. Like, they make their points back most of the time.
They give cover, and they're really synergistic.
Yeah. You can mortal wound them off, but that's kind of like everybody's. Everybody's.
And they
Achilles heel.
Because you're currently with the allegiance abilities, it's not mortal wound shooting that's taking them off unless you want it to be, because
Yes.
you can choose who's getting shot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that at the end, what we think might change. So do you want to give us their new rule, which is pretty crazy?
Yeah, so they have the Nautilus Allegiance ability is a Monstrous Rampage. That's probably not all that's in there, but it's definitely not all that's in there. But they get a Monstrous Rampage with Leviathans. They can carry it out instead of any other Monstrous Rampage, like all of them. And if they do so, change the rend characteristic of the massive side fins and crushing jaws to -3 until the end of the next combat phase.
Which -3 is like where you want to be right now with save stacking. It's pretty easy to get 2. It's always hard to get 3 plus 3.
Yeah,
so you have to balance. Yeah.
Right now, crushing jaws are 2, and side fins are 1. So if side fins go up to 2, then it's +1 rend.
And they have a note in there that it's like up to 20 damage. No.
Yeah, they said they can land up to 20 damage in a single round of attacks before the elves on their back. We had a conversation
just
before they fluff
yes,
everything.
Just the mount attacks, which right now they have, they have that potential now.
Sure.
To do,
But when you push that to rend 3, it suddenly becomes a lot more consistent that you're getting those things.
Yeah. It's good. The only thing that worries me is the points. Unless they're limiting it some other way, which I can't imagine they are.
They want to sell. We'll keep going back. They want to sell the Leviathans. Yep. If they can get people to put 3 on the table, I think the 3 on the table thing might be, what's the behemoth limit is 4.
But if you're conditional battle line,
you
lose behemoth.
Yeah, I've played 3 on the table on the channel.
It's good.
And
I've seen it eat a bunch of rats.
Yeah, it eats rats.
A bunch of rats.
Yeah, it's there's definitely a way to play it right now. So I'm hoping that kind of stays around.
Yeah.
Or even if you end up with a Leviathan as 1 battle line and then a bunch of Reavers or a bunch of Thralls. You're not going to...
Probably as a buff piece.
Yeah.
Right? I expect the Leviathan to continue in some sort of buffing role.
Yeah, and you just fill that battlefield role so you don't have to sink points into battle line that that you don't want to.
Right. I think as soon as we see these rules teasers, I always think about what this means for the rest of the rules we might see. And I think it's interesting if the pattern is that Nautilus is focused on Leviathans, and about monstrous actions for Leviathans and enhancements for Leviathans, then it may mean that the other subfactions are focused on eels, sharks, eidolons potentially. If they're grouping up based on a model type or a monster type, you may see more of that.
That is a theory I've heard, is that sharks will be battle line, and then you could bring threes of them. Because right now their points... Sure. For their points, I don't think sharks are in a great spot right now.
Yeah,
they're
165.
Yeah.
They're almost as expensive as dragons, and they're just not nearly as good.
They're the same price as the Jabberslayer.
Sure.
Yeah. And they're just not there right now. But if you can bring them battle line, and 3 units of 3, and all of a sudden you're talking about they're fast, they're doing shooting. I think that makes them a lot more interesting than just as a support piece right now.
Would this have been the place to talk about that? In this kind of, instead of saying Leviathans are battle line, saying you now have new battle line options.
Potentially.
They can make it out as slowly or quickly as they want.
Yeah, I guess. It's hard to read into that stuff of what, yeah.
Right. We know that eels are going to be conditional battle line in one configuration, right? Whether it's a general that gives it to them or a subfaction. I can't remember.
It's a Kellyan King.
Yeah.
Sure.
The Reavers are conditional battle line. Now Leviathans are conditional battle line.
And I bet you sharks are conditional battle line too, and thralls are the only things that are always battle line.
So then every unit that's not a hero will be a conditional battle line choice.
Potentially.
Which is, it's a place to be, especially with a army that has so little
variety.
Yeah, variety and options.
And we see it with other subfactions, or other factions rather too, where almost everything can become a battle line, or you've got a huge wealth of battle line options.
Even in Nurgle, you have Blight Kings, you have Beasts, you have everything in Nurgle can basically be battle line.
Nurglings can't.
But that's the one thing.
Right.
But this definitely can be really strong, and depending on how the rest of the War Scroll shakes out, this assuming the points are just getting jacked up like crazy. You know, it might be totally worth it. I would have loved to see like a hero love Idon, but
has there ever been a bad elves release? Like I can't think. LRL's always been strong. Daughters has always been strong.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could count like some of the cities.
If you count cities, then there are some poor ones.
Or Sylvaneth. If you count
yeah, I guess Sylvaneth is kind of...
Some people will get very upset at you if you count Sylvaneth as elves, though.
Yeah.
So this was a hot debate in Indianapolis because I was telling you about that list that we thought was like a shoe-in to win.
Yes.
So basically the big points were what's going to happen with Forgotten Nightmares, the ability to only shoot the model that's closest to whoever's shooting, and then where do we think the tides are going?
Sure.
So the big thing right now that is frustrating, I think, for people with Forgotten Nightmares is that you can take any allied unit as well, and because of how the rule is worded, which I'm not going to get into because I don't totally understand, I just know that's how it works, is they get Forgotten Nightmares. So you throw some Aether Wings out there, and now all of a sudden your hero face shooting is taking off a unit of Aether Wings.
Yeah.
Maybe regular shooting is taking off Aether Wings, and now...
I think that's the obvious fix, is that they'll just make it IDK units only.
I think this is a super important rule to keep around,
especially with how strong
especially with the meta how it is. Just like cleaning up some of that stuff. Only Idoneth units. I think that's a perfect fix, and the rule is good how it is.
Yeah.
You can't do we can't do. I can't remember the artifact, but the artifact you could crack and make everybody untargetable for one turn.
Oh,
you can't do that anymore. So, they fixed that, fixed this little thing, and I think you're probably pretty good leaving that rule how it is.
And Jordan, like he was from Indianapolis, was saying everybody assumes it's like so easy to position like your models so that they're only ever going to get shot like this one unit. But like stuff teleports, stuff does things now, and it's not always easy to.
And you don't always have something cheap that you want to feed.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It may be that you don't have a good thing that you want to offer to the shooting, and anything getting shot is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, I don't know, it's such a perfect rule to drop in the middle of, and it already exists, but to just drop it with a new book right in the middle of what the meta is right now and just be shooting, deal with it.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would, if they made something where, you're, and I hate to say this, but untargetable outside of a certain range.
They have that.
The only other thing that
they have that with Cruel Boys right now in the first turn at least.
Yeah, and that's the only other thing that I can think of that would be something that could change this to. But I actually think that's something that might come with the tides.
Sure.
The tides, I think. Need some fixing.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're going to see across this book is War Scrolls getting a little bit better, and Allegiance abilities, specifically the tides, getting a little bit worse.
The turn 3 is just so unplayable as an opponent right now.
I posted my thoughts on what the fix should be in my opinion.
What is it?
I think that instead of just fight first in turn 3 or in high tides, it should be units that charged get to fight first. And
that makes a lot of sense because that's how they fixed Terrorgeist.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to somebody about this, I think yesterday, and I was thinking maybe because they're elves, they came from Techless, give them turn 3 lightning fast reactions.
Sure.
2 activations instead of 1.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that would work too. It's just when you are in your half of the turn, and realistically you should just be retreating and getting the heck out of there because you're about to get massacred.
Yeah.
It's a bad feeling.
Even making it so it only happens on your turn is, a significant change.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the helplessness of going into turn 3, especially if you're a little bit behind against IDK, which you shouldn't be going into turn 3. Historically, they're going to be saving up for that big punch, so you shouldn't be behind. But when you are a little bit behind, and then you basically have this round where it's just about mitigating damage, getting as far away from the 14-inch move enemies as you can. It feels awful.
Yeah,
it's a helpless feeling.
Cool. That is the one thing that's cool about the army is you just.
Yeah, they're
Wherever they
very
wanna be.
fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in the book that I think, especially the tides, that can be tweaked in just like the Leviathan. They're talking about making a battle line.
Mm-hmm.
Turn one of the tides does nothing for Leviathans. You can't give them cover.
Can't cover anything.
So that, you know, if it becomes +1 to save or something as opposed to just cover, you know, that will work with these new rules. But I don't, you know, just little tweaks and stuff that I think you could fix. But I feel like they're probably going for more of a, hey, let's revamp it kind of approach.
I think the one thing that isn't talked about a lot is that eels have sucked since. Well, I take it back. Moorsar eels have sucked since 3.0.
Ishlander's still pretty good on their 2 up unrendable.
Definitely serve their purposes.
Yeah.
You will never see another 27 eel list.
Right. That's done.
That's just done.
Well, they're 195 points for 3 now.
They finally got priced out and ruled out of.
The price would have been worth it at one point.
Yes. Yeah. As when you could stack command points and use them all in a turn.
Yeah.
Just having Volturnus giving them extra 5 attacks a piece, like
and all first.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues I had with the 1.0 book, which a lot of people forget this is a 1.0 book.
Yeah.
Is like the balance just felt so off.
Yeah.
Their thralls were not good. Reavers were like situationally okay, but there was no Unleash Hell. There was nothing like that.
And you're talking about internal balance.
Yeah, internal balance in the Codex. Leviathans were not good. They had I think they had a 4-up save, like base. They're a giant shelled turtle, and they had it was not good. It was Achelian Kings, Volturnos, and eels, Moorsar eels.
And you could take a Tidecaster on occasion to switch the
Just
tide,
to
and
flip
then
the
take minimum of thralls or reavers just to have them.
Even I only took Tidecasters because they came in the battle force, and
they're horrible at casting.
Yeah, and they're not a great priest either.
No.
But it's one of those things that the internal balance got better and better and better as they updated the army. Marathi, Broken Realms Marathi, completely changed how the army played.
Yeah, sure.
The Eidolons, at least the close combat Eidolon, became like a must-take.
Sure.
With its +1 to wound and healing and 5 aboard and like
they
all
still
the
haven't
stuff.
figured out that casting Eidolon. They have not figured.
They haven't.
They're getting close.
They only made it worse by giving you the ability to give the close combat Eidolon
a spell.
Yeah,
right.
A spell. So it's like I'm just gonna take the close combat Eidolon with flaming weapon and have a deny, and that's how I'm gonna run it.
Yeah.
And you know, Sharks got insanely good to the point where they were being taken in every order army that would take them,
and now have been backed off a little bit.
Yeah, points out a little bit, but their damage became better on their harpoon,
and they've got extra wounds and things like that. Yeah,
and they
suffer in comparison to dragons now, which are just a way better option at that point.
Right, if you're going to bring them as allies, their anti-pylon tech is still great.
Yeah,
but it's now more expensive.
Yeah, they're just a little more expensive. But you can even that unit by itself, you can tell that they didn't really know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. It was a monster originally, couldn't benefit from the first tide. Then they took the monster. They took the monster keyword off.
And they were down to something like 100 points. I think
they were 110 points.
110 points.
Yeah.
At one point.
And then they took it. Now it's not a monster, but they brought it to 10 wounds, so it can't benefit from cover. And it's one of those things you can tell that they're like feeling it out, and I'm expecting this book to have a lot of those changes.
Yeah.
But they've never updated any of the allegiance abilities, or the only thing they've done for the Forgotten Nightmares is change the relic, and the tides have been the same the whole time. So
and those allegiance abilities are
they're
oppressively strong.
They're a mess because
they're a mess, but they're oppressively strong.
If you gave so good,
if you took Stormcast
and just insane.
Yeah, Futan. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it is like ridiculously good.
Well, it's just like re-rolling ones against blah blah blah, and then it's if you charge in Domhain, you're re-rolling.
Yeah,
like
Futan is combat phase, re-roll wound rolls of 1 for mounts, which you were always running as many eels as you could possibly run. Now that's not as good with thralls. You're probably not even going to bring Futan as a sub-faction.
That's all going to get fixed. That was the first attempt they had at sub-factions, and they just didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, sure. And then you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for Futan units that are in Flood Tide, and if they're in Ebb Tide, they get treated as in Flood Tide.
Yeah. So you just switch the tides, and then you're
just always rerolling ones on hits and wounds.
Yeah, your Flood Tide, High Tide, Flood Tide, and Low Tide.
Which by that turn stuff wasn't around anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And it's one of I really hope that the internal balance is there, because they've got it to a point where like you want to bring thralls because they just got better. Thrall Master, I think, is a pretty decent addition to the army.
When you look at that book right now, in terms of internal balance, there's some foot heroes you wouldn't take.
Yeah.
And Eels, Morsar specifically, probably not going to take. Ishlian you might take as a meta call.
As the suck-up shooting.
Right. But apart from that, a lot of stuff is really compelling in that book. And you can do it a lot of different ways.
I would say that the only foot heroes that I would not take are the mage or the magic
Tidecaster,
Eidolon,
Tidecaster,
Sure.
Eidolon of the Sea,
and Lotan.
Sure.
Otherwise,
I've seen people sneaking in Lotan just to be able to get a battalion out of
He's 75 points, right?
Yeah, he's cheap. The Soul Render gets better with Reavers and Thralls getting better, and
the Soul Scryer's always been awesome.
The Soul Scryer's always been good.
The Thrall Master is good.
The Thrall Master is good, and as you balance out things that buff units that were bad, now those units become better.
Right.
Soul Render, I have never brought. I think I bought 2 of them, and I might have brought them to like a 1,000 point game.
Model.
Yeah, it's a great model. All the Idoneth models are great models.
Yeah, I think they are.
The
People hate
crab
the
is
eels,
awesome.
but I love the eels. I don't know.
You know what I don't like is that cup flying stand.
Sure,
that's the worst. But the Soul Render was not, because you don't really bring thralls to fill out your battalion, and that's it, or you fill out your requirements.
You did.
Yeah, and now thralls are good.
Right.
So bring a Soul Render, you bring back D3, and then you can do that. Well, actually, that War Scroll battalion is gone, but still, you're bringing D3 thralls back. Plus, you can rally. So you're stacking on abilities on units that you didn't bring before that are now suddenly starting to shine. And I hope I hope they still work together like that.
Right. And that everything's viable. That everything's compelling.
Yeah, I'll hopefully put a bow on it. Like Nurgle going from 1st edition to 3rd edition was drastically different. Like those books have very little to do with each other anymore.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see Idoneth go from 1st edition to 3rd edition, because there's a lot of things they should have learned along the way, and hopefully we get an army that's still strong but not weirdly broken, and then it's balanced better.
Well, and if you look at the War Scrolls that they've released for the Fear of the Deep, if that's our basis, War Scroll wise, they've just buffed them.
Right.
Points
it's
wise,
interesting. It's the opposite of Fyreslayers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And points wise, the everything went up a little bit, and the
which continues a general 3rd edition trend, right?
Yes.
Things are getting a little bit more expensive and better.
Alapec's a little more than everything else.
Yeah.
But the War Scrolls are good, just as they sit.
So same thing we did for the Fyreslayers book. What's the one thing you want to see in the book?
Oh, gosh. I mean, other than all the stuff we've already discussed, I would like to see Lotan be a cool, playable, strong model. I want to get that octopus on the table. I want him counting up stuff and doing cool things. And I mean, it's very vague, but Lotan has been on the shelf for too long. It's time to bring him out.
Yeah. I want my Gloomtide Shipwreck to not just be something that I set somewhere to stop people from putting gnarl holes in my deployment and move blocking. I want it to have a real role in the army, because right now they took away the ward, So now it's just
terrible.
Now it's just mortal wounds within. It's either 6 or 3, and enemy has to be like.
And you can put reavers in them, so they're getting +1 to save and -1 to hit because they're. But you can only put 20 in, right? Because now it's garrisonable and
in the big version of the ship.
Yeah, and 10 on each half, but it needs to do more. We see, we've seen the Illumineth. Like I don't expect.
Lumineth is the one outlier because not all of them do next to nothing.
The Brimstone
I don't
is
expect.
another outlier.
Yeah, never mind.
I don't expect.
Brimstone is busted. But
I don't expect everything to be to the shrine for Lumineth standards, but even the Seraphon terrain piece is now
It's real good.
bringable and really good.
Yeah.
And the Gloontide Shipwreck sits there. Mine is 3/4 painted because I was painting it, and it's like, well, like I'm gonna bring it, but just the excitement goes away. So I really want to see them utilize that in a way that's gonna be good.
Sure.
Or even just serviceable in some way.
I want to see them push the playstyle in an interesting direction. And right now, that direction when the book came out and for all of 2nd edition basically was build up and mass attack turn 3, get as much out of round 3 as you can, or if you flip the tides, right?
Yeah.
But I want to see them take that playstyle in a different direction than every other army. Because I think the army has such a different aesthetic than every other army. So I'd love to see them really lean into hit and run, or really lean into, maybe some interesting deep strike mechanic or something that's different. But I want them to still play very differently than other armies because they feel different than other armies. But not in an impressive way. Like they have.
One thing that never goes out of style is 14-inch movement, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Morsar aren't good, everybody would take a nice little 14-inch movement going on.
I mean, it's just a nice.
It's the most important stat in Warhammer. Still is.
Yeah, movement.
Even on the smaller boards, movement is still the most important stat in Warhammer.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of feel like we've buried the lead on one thing. So we have been recording for quite a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, like, typically when I go to say, okay, Nick, what battle plan should we play? I don't care. They're all the same. Nick,
True.
You know what, though? We were running out of good ones, and I felt like we were repeating. And we were lucky enough to get introduced to Tyler's 4 new Warcoda, or 4 new battle plans in his Warcoda, right?
Yeah, so Tyler Emerson's been working with a community group, and they've done a big effort to bring back 4 of our favorite battle plans from past versions. And so they revitalized them, made them current for 3rd edition, and released them as the Warcoda project. And there's been a bunch of people involved playtesting them. Some tournaments have been running them already, and we've started to run them on the channel, and they're great battle plans. They fit right in 3rd edition. They feel like the good 3rd edition battle plans.
Yep.
And just the diversity that they bring. When we look at the General's Handbook, if you run through the battle plans in here, there's something like 5 that are really good tournament-worthy battle plans. And if you're running 5-round tournaments, that means those are the 5 you're seeing. And so having 4 more that are actually really good battle plans that feel good to play. We've played 2 of them now, and they felt really good to play on the
Coming
table.
down to the end, in general.
And forcing interesting decisions during the game, forcing interesting ways to play. So I'm really excited about having 4 more. It doesn't sound like a big number, but really it's not 12 to going to 16. It's 5 good ones going to 9 good ones, which is a big change.
And I really hope that everyone accepts them because they're free.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't have General's Handbooks. Like, a lot of people I know don't. So, like, you're, like, looking at the rules. Now you just have these great 4 that are
look
free.
to see if I bought the General's
Yeah, right.
I was like, I think I have one, yeah.
They're great, and you can just look them up and play them. It's just really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to get over and play some.
Yeah.
I know I'm not allowed at your house anymore.
No, not after what you did to those
yeah.
rats. The Focal Points one, Focal Points was always like my favorite because it's so interesting to score on opposing. It really makes
It used to see play in basically every tournament.
Yes, it was just the best.
Battle for the Pass used to be great, and then it became Savage Gains, which is good but has some ugly interactions with giants.
Yeah. And then we played Game of Heroes, which Nick cheated on. But
like I do.
like, it was good, though. I mean, I should have brought maybe a foot hero. Maybe.
Well, you
But,
don't know the battle plan before
Yeah.
you make the list, right?
What are we playing?
I was playing Nurgle with...
That
Green
has
Dwarf.
not been released.
Yeah.
That's going to be
I
our
mean,
battle plan.
Nick might not cheat. Nick cheated for me to win. It's kind of like that. But yeah, you got to try them. Honestly, it's just...
Yeah.
I think that the General's Handbook, they're sorely lacking.
Sure. There are good ones.
Yeah.
But then there's more bad ones
Really
than
bad
good
ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to try them. They so far so good with them, and I just hope that everybody kind of adopts them because they are...
Right.
From what I've seen, they feel really balanced. Now, maybe someone breaks them down the road, but so far so good.
People are so reluctant to take on third-party supplements into their competitive play, but I think this has been done right. It's gotten tested the right way. It's been thought through the right way, and I think it's a good addition. It's not going to be a skewy addition or something.
Yeah, it's nice to see rules written by people who care and want it to be like really good.
Very much a passion project.
Yeah,
and it's not dead. Like, this is a living document. So if we do all of a sudden figure out, oh, Game of Heroes is broken because blah blah blah.
Right.
Oh, we'll just change it. You know what I mean?
They're planning an update every 6 months, and they're taking feedback for all that, and then they're planning to maybe change the battle plans or add new ones every 12 months. So it's going to continue evolving.
I will say one thing. It was funny when I came into the game, like when I was just first starting, I was like, it's just about running armies into each other and killing as much crud as you can.
Yeah, you're not
now
far off.
Well, yeah. But now it's like, honestly, the battle plans make such a difference for just like deployment and like changing how any two matchups could go. Like, all of a sudden a favorable matchup becomes unfavorable and stuff. So it is like, as you get more into the game and battle plans are like, I used to hate the podcast where they talk about battle plans. I'd be like, is there anything more boring than this? But now it's like, oh, this is actually really cool.
Yeah, there's a really nice change when you stop thinking of it as just like pushing models together and you start thinking of it as like super tactical and and you have to plan everything out and
for sure.
Yeah.
You're a general.
So check it out.
Chess.
Are we gonna link it in?
Yeah, it'll be linked below.
Is it gonna be by the Discord?
It'll be right by the Discord. I think right below by the Discord.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for another episode.
What have we been drinking tonight?
Well, I've been drinking this delicious ale from Wizardworks Brewery.
I've been enjoying it as well. I think you guys are going to notice that it went down very quickly for me.
Wizardworks is a brewery here in Milwaukee, and it's run by a couple of friends of ours. They started it during the pandemic, and they battled through all of that, starting a new business during the pandemic.
Are they coming out on the other side a little bit?
They are. They're doing well, and I would encourage people in the Milwaukee area to check them out. They make some fantastic beer, hard seltzers, and they're just great people. It's a great place to hang out.
How many have you had, Alex? You drink a lot of beer, right?
No, I had a very strong water while I've been sitting here.
So, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We enjoyed the conversation, and if you want to join the conversation, we do have a link to our Discord down below. I
heard that somewhere. I don't know where.
We'd also love comments. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and we're just thrilled to have you.
Yeah, and hopefully next time we're together, we're talking about a new Fyreslayers and Idoneth book instead of guessing at what might be out there. We're talking about how sweet both books are.
Yeah, I think next time we get together, we should have the books in hand.
I believe that'll be the case.
Yeah, that will be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thanks again to everybody for taking your time and hanging out with us.
You know what would be really nice too is to do a companion game where we Fyreslayers Idoneth, and then we go through the books, and then we have a game that we link as well.
We'll plan on it.
Wow.
Awesome.
Look at you strategizing.
Yeah.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.